Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Be Well, Be Keto. And today's lovely guest is Heather, who was morbidly obese since she was 11 years old. She got all the way up to 378 pounds. And now she is down 122 pounds doing keto. So awesome transformation. And I can't wait for you to meet Heather. So let's go and say hi. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Be Well, Be Keto, the show that highlights ordinary people achieving extraordinary results and changing their lives for the better with a ketogenic diet. You too can be healthier and live better by adopting this amazing lifestyle. If you are new to the show, new episodes go live every Wednesday for your encouragement and support. And all show notes can be found at bewellbeketo.com. Listen each week and add the show to your favorites on your best podcast app. And if you know any cool people that would like to share their story, please contact us at support@highenergygirl.com. And if you want to follow us on social media, which I highly recommend, you can either join our Facebook group called High Energy Girls, if you're a girl, or follow us on Instagram and YouTube at The High Energy Girl. Now let's get to this week's episode with your host, Tracy Gluhite. Yep, that's me. Guess what, everyone? My book is out. It is a revised and updated edition of a book I wrote 5 years ago called No Frickin' Way, 21 Days to Ditch the Diet and Lose Weight the Keto Way by Loving Yourself to Health. When I first wrote the original book, I was not a believer in the low-carb movement, but after all the years of research I've done, I am sold out for life. In this book, you will learn about all the lies you have been fed, how to engage in loving self-care, how to eat nourishing foods that provide massive energy, why the ketogenic diet is not a fad, how to heal your body through fasting, why you should move your body to get stronger, and how to create an empowering mindset. Start reading now and finally achieve the high energy and positive body image you deserve. Check it out on Kindle, on Amazon. And if you like it, please leave us a review because this will help more people find it. I really want to inspire people to not deprive themselves, but to nourish themselves with loving self-care and amazingly healthy food so that they can age stronger. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I enjoyed writing it. Hey, Heather, thanks for coming on the show today.
Hi, Tracy. Thank you for having me.
I'm super excited to chat with you, another little keto sister. So why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself?
Sure, not a problem. I have been obese or morbidly obese basically my entire life. It started as a young kid. I was overweight. By the time I graduated high school, I was definitely in the obese category. And by the time I was done with college, I was in the morbidly obese category. And from there, my weight just skyrocketed even further. In 2012, my highest recorded weight at the doctor's office was 378 pounds. And I still didn't do anything about it until 2014. And I had done some dieting like through college and had lost, 30 to 40 pounds, but nothing ever stuck and I always gained it back. And in 2014, I joined Weight Watchers and I was very successful. In 1 year, I had lost 110 pounds and was doing great. But I hit a hard road with paying the membership fee for Weight Watchers. And they didn't teach me anything in that year about food. You just counted points. Food was given a point system, and it worked as long as you stuck to it. But I had to cancel my membership. And at the time, I also went back on birth control. And my weight skyrocketed again. I gained 80 pounds in less than 6 months. And I immediately got off the birth control. It was clear that I couldn't handle that. But by that time, I had really destroyed my hormones and everything was all over the place. And I went back to Weight Watchers and it wasn't working. I had given it a solid month and nothing was happening. And a friend reached out to me privately and was studying keto actually in college. And he had said to me, I think I have something that can help you, especially with the hormones. And when he was describing keto, I remembered induction phase of Atkins, and I was like, oh, I can do that. And when I started the keto diet, it was just to lose weight, and it was a temporary fix. And as my hormones became level and as all of these things improved, I was not only like able to lose weight and lose a lot of weight, but I felt great and everything else changed. Sleep and depression and anxiety and all of these factors changed for me. And keto's been the first diet that not only like I've been able to stick to, but it's been over 2 years now and I'm still losing, and I haven't even reached my goal yet, but it has changed my entire life. So that's a little bit about me.
So, okay, so let's go back a little bit.
Okay.
What did you ever figure out the root cause of how you had gained all the weight to begin with?
Yes. Now, I didn't figure this out year 1 of keto. I didn't figure this out until year 2 of keto. And I always thought it was just about the amount of food I was eating, but it wasn't. It was the mental aspect of coping with food to like numb myself. I definitely used food as a coping mechanism in life. And anytime I was happy or sad or anxious or celebrating or anything, I used food as my drug of choice. And especially with carb foods, once you start putting that sugar or those carbs in your mouth, it's like a never-ending pit. And I was not able to control it. And I am a binge eater. And I use food in a way that is unhealthy at times. And I still struggle with that to today. But I don't binge on carbs and sugar any longer. And I only pick keto foods, and I'm doing way less, damage to my body. And I'm working with coping with, food as a comfort every single day, still, even now.
So do you mean that, so we know that the carbs and sugars are physiologically and psychologically addictive, right?
100%.
Because of the insulin and stuff. So do you find that the keto foods are less so?
Yes, I still cope with food. So like, it doesn't matter sometimes what food, but whereas I used to binge eat it's to an extreme I can't even really express, and it was on a regular basis and on a daily basis. Now I'm doing it once a month, once every 3 months. It is definitely different. And it is, I can't prevent life events from happening, and I can't prevent an entire lifetime of behavior where I've used food to like comfort me to not sometimes still happen. But I'm definitely doing it in a way that is so much more healthy, and there's no sugar crash afterwards because I'm staying keto when I still do this. There's no sugar crash. There's no waking up feeling like you have a hangover. There's no bloat and all of the things that come with all the sugar and carbs and all the other food.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you find that when you get into that state once a month or once every few months or whatever, that you're almost not yourself? Like, do you feel like you're just become like you're just not yourself?
You become an animal. It is an out of body experience. I did start tracking it about a year ago along with my period and my cycle, and it was happening almost on clockwork 2 days before ovulation and 2 days before my period. And so like I have immersed myself in the Instagram community, and I started, sharing my story and talking with other females, and kind of created this way of putting a little bit of a spin on it. And we call it Fe-Meal Power-Ups, like FE-MEAL. And where I can allow a little bit of extra food on those days during the month where maybe my body physically needs it, and not mentally abuse myself and think that it's a binge and I failed. And I just put like a little bit of a positive spin on it, just so that there's not the punishment cycle, because binge eating typically has the second side of it where you feel so guilty afterwards. And a lot of people will purge in some way, whether they over-exercise or actually get rid of the food or do some sort of mental punishment. And when I stopped doing that mental punishment, it stopped me from continuing the next binge because I was in that low point. So if something happens now where I just blow my calories out of the water, it's okay. I move on right the next day. And I've lost 122 pounds as of today on keto. And it's really, really working for me. So sometimes I don't think we have to cure the behavior as much as we have to accept it until it's at a point where it's controlled and no longer causing damage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think that awareness, and it sounds like that's doing, you're doing really, really, really well with that. That's a lot of weight to lose. So how do you feel now? Like, tell us a little bit about how you feel, and besides the weight loss, how going keto has helped you.
Well, for almost a decade of my life, I lived as an adult. I've always been overweight, but as an adult for almost a decade of my life, I lived in a world where it wasn't really built for me. Getting on an airplane, riding a roller coaster, sitting in a booth at a restaurant, going to a friend's house and being offered a plastic chair that you knew you were going to break or not be able to fit into. I lived in this world that wasn't accepting of me, and I had to adjust not only what I was able to do, but where I was going, who I was going with, how it would affect them. I'm still overweight today. I'm currently 220 pounds. But I live in a world now that I fit into. Mm-hmm. I can do almost everything, and I'm under the weight limit, and I can physically, we took a vacation in April, my husband and I was able to keep up. I didn't need to take a day off in the middle of the vacation. There's so many things that you don't think about people who are severely obese. You just assume that they're lazy or they're, they don't want it or they can't get it together. And that's not true at all. It wasn't my experience, at least. And I was very isolated for a decade, and now I'm not. I have anxiety, diagnosed anxiety and diagnosed depression at times in my life. I don't experience that the same way that I used to anymore. My anxiety is very under control. And I know that keto has definitely helped with my hormones because I've had blood panels taken before keto and the 2 years since doing keto. And everything's normal. This is the first time ever as an adult I feel normal and like I fit into society. And there's a ton of extra skin on my body. People always ask me about that and whether I'll have that removed and what that looks like and would I do it all over again. I 100% would. Like, I'm not going to have it removed. I don't think that that's ever going to be an option for me, but I would do all of it over again. I would lose all of the weight again. I fit into this world, and that is a new feeling for me.
Oh, that's so awesome, Heather. Really, truly, I can't imagine, but I sympathize because I've had my own share of eating disordered issues and all of that. And no matter what side of that page you're on, they all suck. And it's just figuring out how to, get past it. And one thing I like to focus on is what do I want? I'm really big into the law of attraction and being mindful. And, that's why I said about the out of body experience, because when I used to have those issues, it was just like, it wasn't me, and so now I really try to be mindful and really focus everything on what I'm doing on, like, what do I want and how is this going to make my life better?
Yeah, I would say definitely when I am in the middle of, when I am in the process of making a decision on having a binge situation, that I am not being rational. When it's a true binge, I don't get to sit down with myself and be mindful and decide, like, do you really want this? It definitely is something that takes over my body. And I almost don't come up for air until it's over. And anybody who's ever experienced that, it's a very euphoric feeling in the beginning and a very rapid decline in the end. And I I used to really not want, I wanted to fix that. I wanted that to be gone and not a part of me. And I wanted this cure. And now I'm just accepting it. And it just feels, just accepting it is, okay, you have this behavior. How can you still reach your goals and have this behavior? And it has just allowed me to decrease how often it's happened and how much of a toll it takes on me. And it doesn't cause the stress that it used to. And you know what stress can do to your body. It's been a very opening experience. And I will tell you that like the Instagram community has really, really been a vital part of my weight loss and this journey, because it's just a group of girls and it's all free and we're all there with the same goal, even if we don't have the same weight loss to lose, but we're all just supporting each other. And I don't know if you've ever been a part of the Facebook keto groups. Some of them can be very, very aggressive and negative. And then you go over to Instagram and it's just light and positivity and love. And it's just this totally different experience. And I am so grateful for the support I get there.
That's so cool. Yeah, I'm not really involved in any groups other than mine. And because there's just too much out there.
Yes.
And I'm so like focused on, I work a lot. And so, yeah, I don't know that, but I practice energy work and Qigong, and it's all about love and kindness and just attitude. And so for me to even have to deal with anybody with negativity, it's like I always say, I put my Wonder Woman cuffs on and just, up block.
Yes, 100%. And I do think that was a vital part of my success when I did Weight Watchers, was going to those meetings every day, or not every day, every week, and like weighing in and being accountable and meeting other people and talking about food as an addiction, basically, is what they do. And Instagram is kind of like that for me. It's a daily, like I check in, I story, I watch other people's story, and we feed off of each other and we put ideas out there and then we build and we motivate. And it is such an uplifting experience. I feel like everybody who's going for any kind of goal, whether it's weight loss or not, should find their tribe and their group of people who can just support them all the way, because it really is a game changer.
Oh, that's really good. That's a really good idea. So you have your online Weight Watchers meeting that actually does things in a healthy way. One of my things I hate is that like with Weight Watchers, a point is a point, right? So you can eat I don't even know how many points they are, but say 30 points of candy or 30 points of, protein and veggies, and they think it's all the same. And
yes, that is one of the things that they do. You get a certain number of points a day and they assign the foods points. So if you want that Taco Bell taco, it might be a little bit higher points than if you had chosen the watermelon, but you can make it work. And then you end up eating less healthy foods and you're trying to work in your Taco Bell taco and in your regular Coca-Cola. And it doesn't teach you anything other than how to manipulate getting away with as much as possible and still losing.
Yeah.
And I think they do that. I mean, I don't want to bash the program because they really had great success on it and I really found good support, but I do think that they want to keep you unaware of how food really affects you and why it affects you, because then you won't need them. And that's one of the things I love about keto, especially the Instagram keto. It's free. Everything is free. The resources are free. The support is free. I will not be buying into a program for the rest of my life. There's no special pills or potions or powders. It's real food and real people. And it's a breath of fresh air.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And physically, it's good for us, right? We're putting foods that nourish our cells and our bodies and nourish our hormones and our brain and all of that into our bodies, instead of depriving ourselves by trying to restrict calories or, counting the points and all that, right?
Right, correct. And I never knew that this being in ketosis is the way that you're supposed to feel and how you're supposed to function. And you're not supposed to have a 2:00 afternoon crash, and you're not supposed to not be able to sleep at night. And all of these things that I just kind of accepted as being normal, when you're in ketosis and you're fat adapted, so you get past the point of having those carb cravings, the difference in your mood and your self-awareness and all of it is just so amazing. I didn't even know that was something I was getting into when I started keto.
Aw, that's cool. Yeah, because I've interviewed people that have had depression and anxiety and bipolar and all kinds of different, conditions that I think begin in the brain, right? And they're able to, like, Brian Williamson, he said that in his show, he said that depression is something he didn't even know he had until he didn't have it anymore.
Correct. I mean, there's definitely things that I mean, my entire family is like pre-diabetic. I didn't know going into this, no, not just pre-diabetic. My mom's full-blown diabetic. I didn't know going into keto that this could cure that just by changing what you eat. I've learned so much about food and how it actually affects you and how it fuels you and why these things work, not just, eliminate carbs and this will happen. When you change it, when you educate yourself and find out why things affect you and why you feel so good, it's eye-opening and educating. And I just immersed myself in it. I loved it.
So your mom, is she listening to you? Is she taking your lead?
My mother has no interest in what I'm doing, despite the fact that I've proven it works. My mom's been morbidly obese her entire life. She's had extreme diabetes her entire life. She has neuropathy from her knees down, so she can't feel from her knees down. There's definitely a closed door with my mom on health and nutrition, and she will use any excuse that she can. And I have decided that if she's ever ready, I'll be here, but I'm definitely not going to push my way of eating on her. And, when I was heavy and sick, I didn't want anybody pushing their way of eating on me either. And so I do get where she's coming from, but I have such a hard time watching her struggle with all of the medication she's on. And what's the new one she tried recently? Trulicity made her extremely sick. But there's nothing, I can't make her want this. Yeah. So...
it's interesting because my mom also has, she has Alzheimer's, and it's the same type of thing, with her and I. And I said to her one day, because she did it at first and she did good at first. And then she just said, oh, it's too hard to give up bread. I'm like, Mom, would you rather give up bread or give up your brain?
I mean, I would even be happy if my mom would just eat low carb bread. I mean, if we could just get her carbs to even under 70 or under 100, when you're a diabetic and you start your day off with a peanut butter English muffin and an orange juice, that's concerning to me. Yeah. But there's not, I've done keto by myself. I have nobody in the household who does keto. Yeah, it's hard. It can be hard at first. Of course you want those Reese cups and those chips or whatever it is you're used to. But once you get those weight loss results, if that's what you're here for, you will keep going. And then once you get fat adapted and you feel good and you start educating yourself on food, you don't want that stuff. That stuff is not food anymore to me.
Oh my gosh, you want to know the best recipe? So I take a half a cup of coconut oil, a half a cup of organic peanut butter, the all natural. Mm-hmm. And I take a couple scoops of my really clean protein powder. It's chocolate. It's just 3 ingredients. It's hydrolyzed beef protein, stevia, and cocoa powder. Okay, that's it. And then I, whisk it all together. It's all melted up, poured in little candy molds, and it is total Reese's peanut butter cups.
That sounds good. I've tried a few of the keto, I'm not a big recipe person. Yours sounds very simple. I'm not a replacement person. I know that a lot of people want that replacement bread and that replacement everything and that replacement rice. I keep things very, very simple. And I'm sure you've had Lily's, right? Lily's chocolate.
Yeah.
If I have a chocolate craving, I just have a little piece of Lily's or, half a bar of Lily's and do the thing. It's not that I'll never have a Reese cup. Like if that is something I truly desire one day, I may have one, but it's not something I miss anymore. It used to be something I miss for sure.
Well, what I did is okay, so I can't have that stuff around here. Not very, like the Lily's is fine, but like I just don't want to get started on sweets. So I just really limit my sweets. But my dad has cancer and he was eating all this sugary crap. And so when I went to visit him in Florida, like I told you, I made those and stuck it in the freezer. So now when he wants a treat, that's what he grabs. So it is just a win, you know?
That is a beautiful idea. My dad passed away from cancer, and my mom currently has it. So again, my mom with the diabetes and the cancer, I definitely would love her to switch to low carb keto, but she's not. She's not having it.
You know, with my mom, what I said to her, and it didn't sink in. I mean, her brain is really literally deteriorating that she just can't remember, anything. And I said to her, I said, Mom, if you walked by and you saw a car on fire and you saw a woman in that car and it was on fire, what would you do? And she said, well, I'd try to get her out and save her. I said, well, that's what I'm trying to do for you. You are in a burning car.
It's a very hard situation. And it's so true. And yeah, it's very hard. It's very hard to watch. Even my husband, who doesn't have a weight issue and doesn't have any current health issues, it's hard to watch him eat stuff that I know is not fueling his body, now knowing what I know. Mm-hmm. So you go through a phase, especially in the beginning of keto, where you want to sell it, you want to preach it, you want to give it out to everybody. No, you want to save the world, because eliminating carbs and sugar could save the world. And not just for weight, just for general health. And then you realize that not everybody wants to hear it, which is unfortunate. But I do know that the world is changing, and you can see that just by the number of products that are on the market now, just at a regular grocery store. They are this is a movement. This is not a fad diet, and keto will be, or at least low carb will be, more mainstream I think in the next 3 or 4 years for sure.
Yeah, I believe that big time. And even like my local grocery store, I live in a really small town. Our local grocery store, on the front door, it had this thing about keto. And I'm like, oh my God. Mm-hmm. It's like, it's just so funny how everybody, all the marketing, they jump on the bandwagon. And, I mean, it's great. It's fantastic. But it's funny because, like, for instance, somebody told, okay, I'm not going to say any names, but somebody said, oh, this is this low carb thing, right? And so I took a look at it, and it was 5 grams of net carbs per less than a half a cup. And I'm like, who eats less than a half a cup of anything, really?
Yeah, and how much added fiber is in that to make it only 5 net carbs. Yeah. I do think that, I mean, obviously there's going to be companies who jump on and try to exploit what's going on. But when it comes down to it, keto is whole foods it's just whole foods with the absence of carbs. That's kind of how I keep things.
Mm-hmm. Me too. Yeah. I just do protein and like this, well, I broke my fast early today because I lifted weights this morning, and I always end up eating sooner on those days. But with salmon, with olives, and like my son's girlfriend cooks for me sometimes, which is lovely. And she makes this amazing salmon with homemade pesto, artichoke hearts, and Kalamata olives.
It sounds delicious.
Oh my gosh, girl. It is so good. I went out the other night and I didn't eat dinner. I was out with all my girlfriends because I knew that she made that salmon, and I wanted to come home and have that instead. So it was pretty
That's
funny.
Really nice. That's really nice.
So what's a typical day of your eating look like, Heather?
I usually will start my day off with a coffee, and I add like the collagen and the cream to that. And then I almost always, the next step is electrolytes. And I am a person who needs electrolytes on keto. I know that you're kind of either one or the other, and I am a person who definitely needs them. And I usually take them in the form of like Go Ultima or Zip Fizz or something like that. And I also drink a lot of water. I drink about 200 ounces of water a day. And even as I've lost weight, I still drink that much. I know that they say you should drink like half of your weight in ounces at least. But if I don't drink a lot of water, my body holds water. So that's what I do. I usually don't have my first meal until like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but I'm not really fasting because I've had like cream and stuff like that. And I don't put very hard time windows on myself at all because I have binge eating issues. And when I restrict in any way, will typically lend to a binge. So if I'm hungry at noon, then I eat at noon. And it's usually a small lunch. I like to have eggs. I think in my current obsession is these little egg and cheese waffle things that one of the other girls off of Instagram shared. And it's literally like shredded cheese in a waffle maker, one scrambled egg, and then a little bit of shredded cheese on top of it. And you cook it until all the moisture is out, and it's like a little Eggo, and it tastes just like a crispy Eggo. So I've been having a lot of those. And dinner is always a protein and a green. I focus, I batch cook protein. So I always have proteins in the fridge. I pick out whatever one I'm interested in that day, and I usually pair it with a side salad or spinach or green beans or broccoli. It's always very, very simple. And then I like to have a late night snack. So depending on the day, it might be cheese crisps or it might be some pecans with a little Lily's chocolate chips. But that's a typical day for me. I am very basic, very simple eating.
Yeah, that's better. I
Yes.
think I interviewed Luis and the last. Do you know Luis from Keto Gains?
Yes, I do.
He said that he eats the exact same like 4 or 5 foods every day. I want to say it's like beef and eggs and avocado, just like keeps it really, really simple. Because I think when we're out there sampling all these different flavors, it's like, oh, well, that was really good. I should have some more. Oh, that was really good. You know what I mean? So it becomes like this pleasure seeking game that we can play with ourselves.
I have this like side salad, which is just diced cucumbers, diced tomatoes, feta cheese, and there's a Lighthouse OPA tzatziki ranch dressing, and I put a little bit of that on it. And that is my go-to little side. And I mean, I share all my food on Instagram, so you can see everything I'm eating all the time, and you will see that salad on repeat. I try to make it look fancy and make it look different than the picture before, but it's the same every single time.
Oh, how funny. Well, I'm going to look and check it out because that sounds like a Greek salad to me. So the only thing I would add would be Kalamata olives.
Yes, and the only reason I don't add the olives most of the time is because I'm I'm still in weight loss mode, so I'm still watching my calories. But I would add that too. And another thing I've added to it, which almost helps with the Greek salad, is the pepperoncinis. The little, yeah, and that gives that the little flair too. So, but it's delicious.
Oh, that sounds really good. Yeah, I love Greek salads. So one of the things that I do here, we're totally talking about food today. Do you guys have a Costco near you? Oh, in Tampa.
We do have a Costco. Yes.
So they have these grass-fed beef, like kielbasa sausages or whatever. So when I don't have anything cooked and ready, that's my go-to. And I cook it and then serve it with sauerkraut and mustard and jalapenos.
That sounds delicious. Sam's Club has those same exact sausages, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Oh, okay. Yeah, they're really good and
they're delicious.
There's something that when I'm just in a hurry and I need to have some food, then that's what it's my go-to. And then I feel like I'm doing extra benefit with the gut health with having the sauerkraut because I always do really good high quality or homemade sauerkraut. So
do you also do the kimchi? I've never tried that, but I've heard people do that for gut health.
Okay, so here's a funny story. So I have tried eating kimchi so many times, and my sister-in-law is Korean and she eats it by the bucket, and I have tried so many times, and I just, for whatever reason, there's something about it that really does gag me. But there's one that I like, and it is by a company called Farmhouse, and it's California wakame kimchi, and it has like a gingery flavor, and that one is delicious.
Oh, that sounds good. So you found one. It's a matter of finding one you like then.
Right, and I think it's important for us to rotate our fermented foods and not always have the same one. So like sometimes I'll make sauerkraut, or I'll buy it, or I'll get Bubby's dill pickles, which are fermented dills, and I'll do watered kefir, or I'll do say I don't do dairy, so I'll do like almond milk yogurt, and I'm just constantly rotating it. Same with probiotics, because you want a variety, and so I just keep like changing it up a lot.
Very interesting.
I'm 53 and I'm really focused on, aging and aging and health. And so I play a lot with gut health because I know that that's a huge contributor to a lot of age-related diseases.
I didn't know that. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah. So what happens is, back in the day when we used to eat gluten and different foods that we're sensitive to, that we create something called leaky gut because gluten, you cannot digest it properly. And so it creates like little, what is it called? Like the little fibers in your gut kind of open up a little bit and undigested food particles leak out because your immune system attacks the gluten. And so what happens is then we develop other food sensitivities like dairy and eggs and soy and corn. And there's so many different ones that a person can be sensitive to. And so I did really well. I want to say 2 years ago, I had my first food test and I got off of everything for 6 months and the inflammation in my body just disappeared. And then I got lazy and I let things sneak back in. So this company reached out to me wanting me to recommend their product. And I've heard of it before. It's the York test. So it's a higher level, it's a better test. And they sent me a free kit. So I'm waiting to hear the results on that one. And then I'm going to do a protocol as soon as I get the results from that. And that will be for 3 to 6 months where I'll eliminate everything and then slowly reintroduce and see if I can handle it or not.
When you eliminate, what is it you eat? Just beef or?
No, I just eliminate whatever shows up on the food test.
Oh, got you.
So yeah, so what you do is you want to eliminate first, heal your gut with probiotics, enzymes, fermented foods, things like that. And you're removing the offender. And then when you decide to reintroduce it, you're supposed to do one food at a time. Well, in complete Tracy way. So those that know me know I'm just kind of like a baller. Like I just go for everything I do. And so once my 6 months was up, it was like, yeah, cheese, eggs. I was off of beef and avocado. It was miserable.
Yeah.
So, but now we'll see what the new test says. I'm really anxious to see because I've done a Viome test. I did this hair thing. I mean, I've tried so many different things. And Viome is supposed to be like the hot new test, yet it did not show that dairy was bad for me. And so I just don't know. But this one, I decided, okay, whatever the results on this one say, I am going to just commit to 6 months of avoiding all of it and then just bring in one at a time and see where, things land.
That's a good idea. Especially when you commit to 6 months, you really want to find out at the end which one is causing the issue.
Yeah.
So when you've reintroduced them all, that's probably what I would do too, though, to be honest.
Yeah, I was just like, let's go. I was just dying for all these foods. I mean, I have chickens and I couldn't eat eggs for 6 months. And
oh boy.
The funny thing is, seriously, we bought a quarter cow, like a grass-fed cow, a quarter cow right before I got diagnosed. And so
that's a hard one.
Yeah, it sucked. And my husband doesn't like grass-fed, so.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So anyway, we'll see. But yeah, so I'm anxious to see that. So I think I have to wait about a week to get the results. So we'll see what that goes. So let's get back to you and your weight loss. Now, when you were in this journey, were you exercising or was it just pure diet alone?
It is just pure diet alone. When I first started, I had a herniated disc in my back, so I wasn't able to exercise then. And after losing about 80 pounds, that disc went back in. I haven't had any of the back problems. And then last July, I just getting in and out of a boat, off of a friend's boat, off the back ladder from the water into the boat, I tore my meniscus in my knee.
Oh,
and
no.
So, yeah, I'm still dealing with that now and whether or not I'm going to have surgery. And so exercising, even though I'm really not a person who's interested in exercising, I know it's good for your health and eventually I'll probably be doing it. It hasn't been an option for me. So all of my weight loss has been just from controlling my diet.
That's good. I think that's good encouraging for people because some people say, oh, I'm not able to lose weight because I don't have time to exercise.
Yeah, you definitely, it's what starts on, your weight loss starts in the kitchen and what's on your plate. And yes, exercise is always a benefit, but it's not needed. And I find it very interesting because, like, when I talk about the Instagram community, there's a lot of us that don't exercise, and yet we're still having a ton of success. And if you're into exercising, you can find that there too. So whatever your interest is, you can find somebody who's doing the same thing as you.
Yeah. Yeah, and that goes with everything. I mean, there's always, and I think that it's so much better to have buddies. Like I have a workout buddy. I happen to love working out and just the way it makes me feel after I'm done, you know?
Yes.
My oldest son lives in New York, and he calls me every morning around 6:30 because he knows I'm just leaving the gym.
That's awesome.
And he goes, how you doing, Mom? I'm like, always good. Like, this morning I was exhausted. I did not want to get up, but I knew that I wouldn't regret it. I never regret going and getting it over, just doing it.
Yeah, it's great to have someone you can, like, for accountability, and someone who can just check in on you and make sure you're, stay on the course.
Yeah. Yeah. It was funny though. This morning I woke up to a text from my workout partner saying, I can't lift today. I have to go blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh man, like if I would have known that, I probably would have slept in.
Right. And yet you're exercising for yourself. So it shouldn't be about whether or not the person can go, right?
I know. And I'm glad I went because, I just like it. So,
right.
And I teach classes and stuff too. So that's kind of fun. But I like that you said that you lost it all. And so people don't need to use that as a reason that they can't get started.
No. And I'll lose I have about 20 more pounds I want to go, and that will be without exercise also.
Okay. And then when you're ready to start exercising, come back and I'll help you get started.
Okay, that sounds good.
There's things that are efficient and things that are a waste of time. And some people don't believe it, just like the low fat movement. It's just old dogma that we were led to believe. And I think efficiency in the gym is really important.
Yeah, I don't know anything about exercising, so I'll definitely hit you up when that becomes a part of my life.
Okay, awesome. So what advice would you have for people getting started on keto, Heather?
My biggest advice would be, don't overcomplicate it. You don't have to know everything just to start eliminating carbs. It doesn't have to be perfect from the beginning. And everybody, I hear this, I'm going to start Monday, or I'm going to start whenever this, and when I'm prepared. And you don't have to have everything in order to just get it going. And that would be my biggest advice. Just cut out the carbs and learn as you go. And as you go and you learn new things, apply those things to yourself as you go.
Yeah. Yeah, that is really good. And just, just go in for the long game. Don't think it's like this quick fix.
Right. So, I'm guilty of a person. I started as thinking it was a quick fix, but once I started seeing results and feeling so good, I realized this is where I'm going to be staying the rest of my life.
Good for you. Good for you. And that's how I feel too. I do it for the health gains more than anything else. So now when you got started, were you tracking religiously? How many, tell us about that.
I have tracked religiously my entire journey. I am a strong believer in tracking. It felt a little daunting at the beginning, but I put everything I eat on a food scale. Even when I'm binge eating, I weigh and track it. And at this point, it's not daunting because it's just a data point. And it's just something I can look back at. And the reason that I track is because I'm a chronic overeater. I don't have portion control. I look at something and think that, oh, that's only 5 ounces when it's really 10. And it's so easy to over pour your cream or over measure your butter. If you're not putting it on a scale and tracking it, you are just guessing. And if you're not getting results, it's probably because you're guessing.
So you said that you're on your weight loss thing. Okay. So let me ask you about that. So how did you get started? Did you go to a keto calculator? I mean, how did you determine what your limits were going to be for your weight loss?
I went to a keto calculator first. I decided when I first started, I wanted wanted to take the average of several different keto calculators. So I went to like Ruled Me and then Keto Connect, and all of these people have free calculators. And I decided to do my macros from all of them and take kind of like an average, because they can vary quite a bit on where you should be. And then I decided to just focus for the first 6 months on hitting my protein goal, staying under 20 net carbs, and I've always counted net, not total, and keeping within my calorie range so that I just wasn't overeating. So that's how I started. And I used the free tracking app called Chronometer. And once you build your food library there, it works beautifully. And they have a scanner where you can scan food and put it in. And it's very simple to use.
Can you add recipes to it?
You can add recipes to it. You can custom make your own macros. You can adjust your macros as you go. It will tell you the percentages, and it's free. You don't have to pay for the paid version of it.
Okay. And why do you like that better than MyFitnessPal, or is that just the first one you tried?
MyFitnessPal, unless you're paying for the premium version, doesn't calculate net carbs for you. Chronometer gives you the option to track net carbs, and it also gives you the option to subtract sugar alcohols if you want to. So there's just more flexibility with Chronometer than there was with MyFitnessPal. And MyFitnessPal at the time, 2 years ago, was very flooded with personal data entries. So as people enter their own foods, you click it and it's incorrect information. And if you're really not paying attention, you might be entering the wrong macros. Chronometer at the time had a smaller database, and you can add things to their database, but they have to pre-approve it. So you have to send them a picture and the barcode and all of that stuff, and they will add it. Like, it takes about a week, I think, for them to add the product, but they've checked it. So you're not just having all of these selections like MyFitnessPal does and not knowing if the macros are actually correct according to the package.
Okay. Yeah, that's one thing I've noticed, is sometimes you see things on there and you're like, whoa, that's not true.
Right. That was my biggest thing with MyFitnessPal, and that it doesn't let you calculate net carbs without being on the paid version.
Okay. Okay, that's good to know. I need to get in the habit of tracking on the that Chronometer. I have the app downloaded, but it's not on my front screen, and so I always forget about it. So that's a good one.
Yeah, I love it. It's very user friendly, and I've always enjoyed it.
Okay, cool, awesome. All right, well, Heather, what or where can people find you? I know you're big on Instagram, so let us know what your handle is.
My handle on Instagram is Heather_low-carbs_4 life. So Heather Low Carbs for Life.
Okay, and if you forget that, we'll definitely have that on the show notes page at bewellbeketo.com.
Thank you.
We'll have some links and some pictures. And favorite recipe. What is your favorite recipe that we can share on the show notes page as well?
That would be that little cucumber, tomato, feta, OPA tzatziki salad that I always make. I really am not a recipe person, but that is the one thing that I absolutely love.
Okay, so you know what the OPA stands for?
No, I don't.
Okay, so my best friend is Greek. It's Opa, and it means grandpa.
Oh, well, that grandpa tzatziki is delicious.
Wait, I'm lying. Opa does not mean grandpa. Wait, does it? Shoot. I know it's Opa. Because there's actually a restaurant in our town called Opa that's a Greek restaurant, and now I can't even remember like a Dumbo what it actually means. So I'm going to look it up for you. Hold on. What's Opa meaning in English? I'm going to tell you just so you know. Is a common emotional expression and is frequently used during celebrations. Oh, Opa! It's like a cheers. At the restaurant that's in our town called Opa, when somebody drops something, the whole staff yells Opa.
Well, it's delicious. It's definitely a celebration.
Yeah. Well,
if you've never tried it.
Greek food's amazing. I love Greek food. So, okay, awesome. We'll have to include that. So, well, hey, girl, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It was a pleasure hearing about your success and, the life-changing results that keto has brought to your life.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Aw, you are so cute. I am so happy for you.
Thank you.
Okay, so Heather was absolutely adorable. I'm so excited and proud and inspired by her journey. And it just makes me feel like none of us have excuses, right? Like, let's not make any excuses. Just make your life better. So if you like the show, please head on over to iTunes, leave us a rating and review so that more people can be inspired by these awesome stories. If you know anyone that would make an awesome guest, please feel free to email me at Tracy with 2 E's at highenergygirl.com. All right, you guys, go out and make it a great day. This podcast contains the opinion and thoughts of its host and guests. It is intended to provide helpful and informative material on the subjects covered. All statements made on the podcast have not been evaluated by the FDA and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. If the listener requires professional assistance or advice, please contact your personal medical doctor. Both host and guest specifically disclaim any responsibility for any liability, loss, or risk, personal or otherwise, which is incurred as a consequence directly or indirectly of the use and application of any of the contents of these episodes. Like I said, this is my opinion and I could be wrong.